Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Tim, and you're watching Movies with Tim. Today we're going to talk to you about a classic movie, if you will. And I say classic because this movie came out in 1994 called Wyatt Earp, and it is currently available to stream on Netflix. I've seen this movie before. I saw it when it first came out on video. It came out on, I remember, VHS, and it was one of those two tape movies. You know, it wasn't just on one cassette tape that you could just watch all the way through, about halfway through. I think the part where when they went to Tombstone, Arizona, that was where the second tape started. So, this is a movie I've seen before, and watching it again, the biggest question I kind of had for myself and what I want to find out and share with you is, was this movie as bad as I remember it being? Now, there's probably some people out there that are like, Tim, I saw this movie, let's see, 94, what was that? 20 years, am I doing my math right? 25 years ago, and this movie was fantastic at 3 hours and 11 minutes long. It was the perfect length of time, the perfect story. There's probably someone out there that is willing to say that. Now, I challenge that person to A, watch that movie again. And it's really hard not to do B, which is compare it to the movie Tombstone with Kurt Russell that came out, I think it was the year before. The Wyatt Earp and Tombstone were basically filming at the same time. And Tombstone had, for some reason, with all their problems with production and everything, switching directors and all that, somehow managed to come out the year before. And then Wyatt Earp came out. And a lot of people drew comparisons between the two, myself included. And just to kind of get straight into it, if you don't know the story of Wyatt Earp, he was a lawman in the Wild West that kind of cleaned up these cow towns. And, when he decided to finally retire, he went to Tombstone, Arizona with his other brothers. They wanted to get rich. They were tired of, making these mediocre wages. And, the American dream for the Wild West, I guess, is what you could call it. Watching this movie, though, let's just get into it, right? I don't know how long I've been rambling for, but let's just kind of get into the movie here. One of the key things I noticed while watching this movie, I felt anyway, that the interactions, the dialogue between the characters, in my opinion, kind of felt forced, right? The only thing I can really compare it to is have you ever worked alongside someone that you just did not get along with, but because you worked there, you had to be professional with each other? It's like, oh, hi, Doug. I've already done that task, so you don't have to do, just that sort of thing right there. That's kind of how the majority of the dialogue in this movie is just like wooden. It's almost like the actors knew the script. They knew what they had to say, but there was no emotion in it, And it almost seemed like every time they would talk to each other, there was like maybe an additional, and maybe this is the way people talked during the days of the Wild West, I don't know. But it almost felt like there was like an additional 1 to 2 seconds of pause in between lines of dialogue when they're communicating with each other before they did something, whether it's Wyatt talking to his brothers or Bat Masterson or Doc Holliday. Dennis Quaid playing Doc Holliday was probably, and in no ways does his performance compare whatsoever to Val Kilmer's in Tombstone. We're not reviewing that movie though, but as far as this movie goes, he did a pretty good job with that character, and he probably had the dialogue that seemed most like acting in a movie would, versus everyone else. There were just these, maybe it was an editing problem, I don't know. It was just like unnatural. They just knew what they had to say, and they fucking said the words that they knew were on the page that they had to say. There was no real emotion in it. They didn't really seem like they were acting, and that goes from every single person that's in this movie, from Kevin Costner to Tom Sizemore, Bill Pullman. This is a huge movie with a lot of big name actors in it. Gene Hackman was also in it. crud, what was dude's name that he was in Reservoir Dogs? He cut off the other guy's ear. That was one of the brothers there. I can't remember his name. You know, I'm looking at the IMDb right now. We're gonna freaking cheat. Where is it? Let's see. It was Michael Madsen. That's who we're talking about here. He was in it. Mark Harmon, I think he's in NCIS or something. Jeff Fahey from Lawnmower Man, he was in this movie also. The overall, though, it just wooden acting that just did not really play off too well. Another thing that I noticed in this movie is, especially with WYATT EARP, right? I feel that when you watch a movie, you need to be entertained. That's the reason you're watching this movie. You want entertainment, right? If you want to be fucking sad and cry, you're probably not going to go watch a movie. You know, if you want to do these, you know, if you're not wanting entertainment, you're not going to watch a show. I think is kind of what I'm getting at here. In this movie, I really had no characters that I really liked. You know, WYATT EARP, you would think that with everything he did, he was kind of a fucking prick. I mean, maybe that's just from real life. You know, maybe he was actually that way. I don't know. I never met the dude. You never met the dude. But that's the way Kevin Costner portrayed him, is just this prick, really dry, nobody really got along with. You know, even his brothers, you know, when he would talk to them, he would just, there was never like this encouraging, emotional, whatever you want to call it, drive for me to like any of these characters. All of them, they were bland. I don't, you know, and there's a lot of good actors in this movie. Again, I'm nitpicking at the acting here, but this was the entire movie. This wasn't just like one scene. This wasn't, you know, one person. This was everyone. It is so odd that after watching the director and editor and, you know, producers and everything, after watching like the dailies to where they were like, okay, good, let's look at what we got yesterday. I just don't understand how they were watching that. And they were like, you know what? That's it. You guys hit the mark. I really don't know how they said that, or decided that. And ultimately, it leads to the entire movie just being bland and boring. There was a book that was released, I think written, they took the screenplay and they turned it into a book, and they released it a few months before the movie came out, that I actually had read. I think I was like 13 or 14 at this time. It came out in 94, so I was 13 at this time. And I had read that book, and it was just, I was excited because I'd seen Tombstone the year before. Now I'm reading this book and I'm learning more about this character, WYATT EARP, and I'm like, my blood's just, I'm ready to see this movie. And then you get it, and it's just this boring, bland mess that even with the dialogue, even with this wooden and the unnatural pauses, a lot of the dialogue just really didn't make sense for these people to be saying it to each other. I don't know, just in the characters, again, I couldn't like any of them. Even, you know, in Tombstone, you knew who the bad guys were. You knew Curly Bill Brocious, Ike Clanton, you know, the other characters like Thomas Hayden Church. I can't remember his character's name in that movie, but you knew who these bad guys were, right? And as I'm watching WYATT EARP, it's showing, and I'm like, you know what? I've seen that guy. I know that guy is a bad guy because I've seen him. It showed him in a scene a few minutes ago, and yeah, he's definitely one of the bad guys. And then, you know, I'm looking at it later. I'm like, oh, that was Ike Clanton. You know, in Tombstone, the character that played Ike Clanton, he was such a memorable guy. You don't have that in this movie. This movie, and again, things being memorable. You know, you've got even your dialogue from Tombstone that everyone just loves to quote the shit out of that movie. They love quoting Doc Holliday. There's much better quotes from some of the other characters. But in this movie, it just doesn't have any of that quotability. No one's going to be walking around saying, oh, it all ends tonight. Or my name's WYATT EARP and it all ends tonight. That was probably a pretty good scene where he went back to Dodge City because, you know, they basically fired him. Shit got out of control. He came back, and then, you know, he had to clean up the town, and, you know, okay, I'm back. It all ends tonight. That was probably the most memorable line, and you're probably, if you've made it this far into my video, you're like, Tim, what the hell are you talking about? I don't even remember that. 3 hours and 11 minutes, y'all. I watched the entire thing, and I can't I can't express it to you enough that even though this movie is on Netflix, this is a free watch. I fully recommend you kind of avoid this movie. It is lackluster. It is not entertaining. The acting is garbage. I want to say it went up for an Academy Award or two. I don't think it was for Best Actor. It must have been for like sound design or something. But definitely, you had some top quality talent behind this movie, and they failed to deliver even as far back as 1994. I was not entertained at all. Bored out of my mind. I know some of you, if you disagree with me, tell me down in the comments. Say, Tim, you were wrong because of these reasons. I want to read about it because I want to know what in this movie was entertaining for you that it was not for me, because this was a complete waste of 3 hours and 11 minutes of my life that I am never going to get back. Oh man, I was rough on that one, wasn't I? It happens. It happens. Anyway, I've been gone for a while. This is my first review of the year, I think. So we're going to be getting back into this. If you like this type of content or the movie reviews, if you even give a damn or shit about any of this stuff, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button there. It really helps me out. If you don't mind to subscribe, we'll try and take this thing off and get as far as we can get going. I appreciate you watching. We'll catch you next time. Thanks.